Hi everyone.
Hi everyone. In the previous video, we talked about the application layer and state management. Finally, we are ready to start coding. But first, let's discuss which layer and feature we should start coding from. Just to remind you what we are building, as you can see on the screen, it is an app showing the location of the user on the map. In order to obtain the location, the user should first grant access to their operating system location permission. Without this, we have no location to show. So the permission feature sounds like a good candidate to start coding with. Erkan, let's discuss the requirements of the app and explore what kind of an API the geolocator plugin exposes in terms of permission.
I agree with you. I think permission feature is a great place to start this app. As we discussed in the architecture section, domain layer is the center of the app and it is the best place to define our needs. So let's jump into the code and get started. Oops.
Sounds great.
So under the domain folder, we will open a new subfolder called permission, which is the name of the feature we are building. And here we are creating a new file called IPermissionService, which is an interface for us to communicate with the permission service implementation. So I am defining it like abstract class, IPermissionService. So we don't know what implementation we will use for IPermissionService yet. So we have several alternatives like geolocator plugin, permission handler plugin. All of them is okay, and you can switch the implementation depending on your needs and depending on what one package offers and what the other doesn't. So in the scope of this tutorial, we decided to choose geolocator package for handling location permission stuff. So before we begin, we first need to decide on what we need from a permission service. So what do we need in this app? What we need in this app is to get the user's location and show the user's location on the map with a marker. In order to get the user's location from the device, we need to get permission access, and also we need also permission services to be enabled. If you don't know what permission services is, it's like a toggle. If you open it, if you enable it, you will enable location access to the apps that you have granted permission for. But if you make it off, none of the apps, including the ones that you give location permission, will not be able to access your location. On the other hand, location permission is something that you give for an application specifically, application-wise. So you may want to give location access to Instagram, but you may not want to give that permission for Facebook, for example. So what we need is, we need to know if the user granted location permission at a time. Also, we need to know about the changes in the location permission state, because the user may take the app to the background, go to the settings, and change the permission status of the app from the app settings, and then come back the app. So we need a way to figure out this and reflect the necessary changes in the UI and in the app state. So the changes in permission state, in location permission state. Also, we mentioned location services. Similarly, we need to know if location services is toggle is enabled or disabled at the time. Well, I have a typo here. And also, similar to the location permission, we need to listen to the changes in the location services status. I mean, the user can just scroll the notification bar and toggle the state of the notification, the location services without even changing the app state. So we need to be aware of these status changes. Okay. And finally, of course, we need a way to prompt the OS dialog to the user to ask the permission. So a method to request location permission. So I think this is all what we need, right? Am I missing anything to get us begin?
I don't think so, Erkan. These 5 seem to be enough to get us started with. We can head out to pub.dev.
Okay, let's jump to geolocator on pubdev. So let's see what API do they give and figure out if they can meet our needs. I am looking for, yeah, it's here. Location service stuff and permission stuff. So they give us a method for checking location services status at the time. And also they give us a stream which returns a service status that says us if the location services is enabled or not. It gives us an update about the status changes. And also here we have a method called check permission, which returns us a location permission. We will check its type quickly. Yeah, it's here. Location permission is an enum that have 4 states. So check permission returns the information we want, but for the permission stuff, they don't give us an API for listening to the changes in the permission. So we will need to figure out a custom way to understand this in the upcoming videos. So we will not be able to get it from our permission service API. And I also, before the video, I checked it on permission handler, so it doesn't give that information as well. So it's probably something operating system wise. So we will need to implement a custom way for this. And finally, they give us a way to request permission, and it returns the user's answer for us. So when we call this method, if it's the first time we are asking about the permission, the default state will be denied, and the OS prompt will be shown to the user. Depending on the user's answer, if the user answers with while in use, the state will change to this. If it says always, the state will be always. If the user denies it, it will be denied forever. So this is how it works. And there are some implementation differences between Android and iOS. In the upcoming videos, we will talk about them as well. Okay, but I think in our scope, we don't need all these 4 states. For the scope of our project, we only need if it's in the default state, if it's in denied state, if the user denied the permission permanently, or if the user granted the permission. We don't need to know if the user enabled the permission while in use or always in the scope of our app. We don't want, we don't need these information. So we will probably implement a custom enum for this and use that in our application. So we have 4 out of 5 of our needs. So we are ready to define the method headers for our permission service, I guess. So let's jump into the code and start defining the method headers. So let's begin. We need a method if the user granted location permission at a time. So a method that returns feature bool is location permission granted. This is one thing we need. The second need, unfortunately, is not available in the service. As we talk, we will figure out in the upcoming videos. And for this one, if the user enabled location services at the time, we will have a method, corresponding method called isLocation services enabled. It will also return Boolean. And to listen to the changes in the location service status, I think the best return type will be a stream, since we want to listen to the changes. And I want a Boolean type from that stream that informs us about state changes. If it's enabled, it will return true, and if it's disabled, it will return false. Simply, this will be what it is. Is location service location. I'm trying to find a good name for this. Location services status stream. Something like this. Okay. Let's define it like this. And finally, we will have a method to prompt the permission to the user. And for this method, I guess we are going to need to define a custom type, custom enum type that I show in the pub dev. So we will have something like this. It will return future location permission status, which we haven't defined yet. Request location permission. So let's define this enum and complete our implementation. Under the permission folder, we will create a new file called location permission status. It will be an enum. What states do we have? Denied, permanently denied, or if we want to use their lingo, you can use denied forever as well. It doesn't matter what lingo you choose here. It's all your code. But I will use denied forever here. And the other one will be granted. So I think that's all we need in this part as well. So we defined our custom enum type as well. And here I'm importing it. And we're done with for permission service implementation, permission service abstraction. I think that's all.
Thank you very much, Erkan. Domain layer implementation of the permission feature is partly finished. This is not the final implementation, and there will be additions made in the upcoming videos. In the next video, we will implement the application layer utilizing what is built in the domain layer today. So see you soon.
Bye.